Antonio is an English teacher here at the official School of Languages, and he's also a published writer. Did you know that he was a published writer? Yes. Okay. So, what else do you know? Right, so, you know, I work with him, we work with him, we have worked with him.
In the early 5th century, the Roman Empire started to have big problems. So far, Britain had been a province of the Roman Empire. It had been a province of the Roman Empire for about 400 years. But, as I said before, in the early 5th century, Rome started to have serious problems with barbarian tribes. First subject, then verb, then object, then adverbials. That didn't happen in Old English. In Old English, the order of the different elements of the sentence was, like in Spanish, was much. In French, or mi fin in Spanish, and the other example I've chosen is historical annals. That is, King Alfred defeated the Saxon army, they killed King Harold, and they took power all over the island. These people, well, we don't have time. This is a very interesting. This story is told in a very famous tapestry in the Abbey of Bayeux in France. It's a kind of a comic, a typical medieval comic, you know, designed for people who were illiterate, couldn't read. Well, it's very small. I don't know. I don't know how to do it. You can see the Normans are battling on horseback, and the Saxons used to battle on foot. Okay. The Saxons were about to win, but eventually the Normans won the battle, and they took power, and these people spoke French. So what happened? That French became the official language of Britain. The official language means the language of the court, the language of the law, the language of aristocracy, the language of war, the language of politics. The common people, the peasantry, continued speaking English, but the aristocracy, the elite, spoke French, and a lot of French words were contributed to English. You can see here the different fields. Okay, nobility, obviously, right? Crown, prince, count, duke, honor, majesty. French became also the language of the law. Court, judge, justice, jury, felony, legal, perjury, crime, prison. Words related as well to social hierarchy. Obedience, servant, vassal, serf, peasant, laborer. Words related to war. Armor, archer, defeat, spy, surrender, defend. Words related to literature. Literature, among them, of course, chapter, language, romance, library, story, and words related to cookery. Appetite, roast, sauce, liqueur, salad, bacon, all these words didn't exist. Well, they existed, but the concepts existed, but they were not referred to with these words. These were new words introduced into the English language by the Normans. There are many different, interesting phenomena related to this. For example, very often the non-skilled laborers, the non-skilled jobs, were referred to with English words like miller, shoemaker. But more skilled jobs were referred to through French, Norman words like tailor or merchant. Then also they were blends. Okay, you see the word gentleman. Okay, gentle comes from French, and man obviously is an old Saxon word. Very curious, I guess many of you are aware of this, is the fact that the animals, to refer to animals, those people used Saxon words, but to refer to those animals on the table as food, they use the French word. Deer, venison. Ox, beef. Swine, pork. Sheep, mutton. I told you the French, the Normans had a big influence on everything related to cookery. Cookery is not one of the strengths of British people. It was not at that time, it's not today. And also, another interesting phenomenon was the so-called duplicates or doublets. You know, synonyms. One of them is of Saxon origin, and the other one is of Norman origin. There are a lot of examples of this as well. Here. The concept is the same, but there are two words to refer to those concepts or things. One is of Norman origin, the other is of Saxon origin.
Bigger.
Your wish is my command.
I wish. I wish it was.
You see, maternity, motherhood. Of course, the Norman words are much more familiar to us because French belongs to the same family as Spanish. You know, infant, child, amity, friendship, battle, fight, liberty, freedom, desire, wish, labor, work, commence, start. You know, all these doublets, to Spanish speakers, the French ones are easier to learn and to remember. Demand, ask, chamber, room, close, shut. Annual, yearly, odor, smell. Most of the Norman words sound very familiar to us. was a bit weird because, you know, English language became basically the third language in Britain, because it was French, then Latin. Latin continued as the language of the church. And then English was spoken by the majority of the population, but that majority of the population had no power at all. Okay? So it was a very strange situation, and of course a source of all kinds of tensions, trouble, misunderstandings, etc. Little by little, the aristocracy, the elite, little by little, it took about 300 years, abandoned French and started speaking English, and English which was in turn deeply changed by all these words, about 10,000 at that time. So at the end of the 14th century, this process I'm telling you about took about 300 years. At the end of the 14th century, this capital event in the history of England and of English language, and it's the study of pleadings. What does it mean? It means that the English Parliament decided that English was bound to be the official language in court. In court, I mean, not in the royal court, in the justice court. Right? It was a real disaster, because common people who pleaded in court, who had to appear in court for whatever reason, as witnesses, as defendants, or as whatever, they didn't understand the language that was used there. So the English Parliament made an official statement stating, if you excuse my repetition, that from that moment on, English would be the official language in courts. Right. There's a very interesting excerpt here. Can you read?
Yeah.
All pleas which shall be pleaded in any cause whatsoever, before any of his justices whatsoever, or in his other places, or before any of his other ministers whatsoever, or in the courts and places of any other laws whatsoever within the realm, shall be pleaded, showed, defended, answered, debated, and judged in the English tongue. This is the birth certificate of English as the official language of England. Paradoxical as it might sound. In that year, it was 1362. Later, King Edward III was the first king to address the Parliament in English for the first time in history. What led to this change of attitude? I told you it took about 300 years. And over those 300 years, several things happened. One of them was that the English kings lost control of Normandy. They had come from Normandy, but they lost it to the King of France. So the ties were cut with their native land. This was a severe blow. Then the 100-Year War. There was a war between the English and the French that took 100 years, and of course the French became the enemy. French language became the language of the enemy. Also the Black Death. Black Death which was a horrible thing which killed about 1/3 of the population, which is no joke. The Black Death, okay, it killed, 1/3 of the population, but it killed a lot of priests. A lot of priests. And after the Black Death, there was an economic boom, for reasons that are not to be discussed here. And that economic boom favored basically the humble tradesmen and craftsmen who spoke English, not French. The Black Death was a horrible disaster with small positive elements. So these kind of events led eventually to the adoption of English as the national language of England, not French. The English spoken of those 300 years was called Middle English. And Middle English, its main features are basically, well, there are many different things to mention, but maybe the most important one is grammatical simplification. I told you about the Danish influence. It was the beginning of that gradual process of simplification. But during this period, Middle English,